this section, we'll be discussing midlife. What is midlife? Well, the definition of midlife has changed over the past 100 years. In 1900, the average life expectancy was only 47. Today, it's much older. So, researchers define midlife in some different ways, but the way that we're going to focus on is actually from the MIDUS website. The MIDUS, M-I-D-U-S, is a longitudinal study on midlife adults. It literally stands for midlife, M-I-D, adults in the U.S. So that's where MIDUS comes from. So from the MIDUS website, midlife are the years between 30 and 70 with 40 to 60 at its core. And the researchers say that this is perhaps the least studied and most ill-defined of any period in life. It abounds with changing images and myths, the midlife crisis, the change of life, the empty nest syndrome, and many more. But we have little documentation and less understanding of what really happens biologically or psychologically during this extended period of time. So now we know that we don't know a lot about midlife, but let's go over some of the things we do know. Midlifers are facing some unique pressures. They have declining physical skills, expanding responsibilities. They're raising and launching their own children. They're often reaching their career pinnacle. We see that thoughts are tending to shift from how long they've lived to how long they have left to live. But people reach and maintain satisfaction with their careers, and they're starting to move from a focus on individual achievement to the focus on transmitting something meaningful to the next generation. So we see that rates of aging vary considerably across people, and both genetic makeup and lifestyle choices influence whether and which and when chronic diseases will manifest. But the really hopeful thing about midlife is that it's kind of like a window in which we can see what our likely developmental pathway is while we still have time to do some damage control. Maybe we want to change some of our habits to prevent unwanted outcomes. Maybe we want to intervene early in chronic diseases, so catching early signs of diabetes, maybe changing diet and exercise, maybe taking medications for other complications that are arising. So let's start by talking about physical changes in health. So appearance is definitely changing. Some of the signs of aging appearing in middle age include wrinkles, gray hair, weight gain, possible baldness. Male pattern baldness often begins to appear in middle age. People's reactions to these changes in appearance vary. There's a wide range of individual differences in aging and reactions to it, especially across gender and culture. So certain changes on men in Western society might be viewed more positively, but those same changes in women wouldn't be viewed as positively. Example, dad bod, right? That is considered more of a positive change for the most part, but I've never even heard of mom bod as a thing. So anyway, in fact, everyone talks about women needing to get their body back, right? So that's an example there of how some changes might not be viewed as positively in women than as men. We also see changes in bones and joints. So osteoporosis is going to be more common in women. This is a disease where bones become porous and they break very easily. So calcium supplements, especially after menopause, can slow the rate of bone loss. So it's important for women to be taking vitamins. Osteoarthritis is a degenerative disease usually caused by injury or overuse, like wear and tear. And it affects the hands, the spine, hips, and knees. It does not affect the wrists, elbows, shoulders, or ankles. So osteoarthritis is treated by steroids or anti-inflammatory drugs. Non-stressful exercises can help, as well as diet. And then rheumatoid arthritis is very destructive. It's like this slowly developing disease of the joints, causing pain and swelling. And medications here include anti-rheumatic drugs. Surgical interventions might also be an option if those medications are not providing relief. Some individuals have to go through an arthroplasty or the total replacement of joints damaged by arthritis. And then we see that there's also reproductive changes. So as women enter midlife, they experience this major biological process called the climacteric. And this is the loss of the ability to bear children by natural means. So menopause then is the total cessation of menstruation and the loss of ability to bear children. So menopause is part of the climacteric. It begins in the 40s, typically in women, as menstrual cycles become irregular. So it's not that menstrual cycles just cease, they start to become irregular. But by 50 to 55, it's usually complete. So this transition is called perimenopause. It's this transition phase from regular menstruation to menopause. There's considerable variation in how long the transition takes. But we know that hormones are definitely changing, and we see then that there are changes in reproductive organs and sexual functioning. So if you guys think about, maybe you know someone who went through menopause, maybe you have gone through menopause, but think about some of the things that we associate with menopause. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, about what happens during menopause. So there's a variety of physical and psychological symptoms that accompany perimenopause and menopause due to decreases in hormonal levels, especially estrogen. So hot flashes, night sweats, headaches, mood changes, difficulty concentrating, changing cholesterol levels, just a variety of aches and pains. These are all associated with menopause. We also see that there are negative effects on sexuality, such as low libido. So this decline in estrogen that women experience after menopause is related to that increased risk of osteoporosis and cardiovascular disease, weight gain, memory loss. Again, timing is going to be different for different women, but we see that dramatic decline in estrogen can lead to hot flashes, nausea, or fatigue. But menopause is actually often misunderstood because most research has been conducted on just a small group of women who have gone to their physician for treatment. So if you're going to your physician for treatment, you're probably experiencing very negative side effects from menopause. And all of the research then done on menopause is only on that small group of women who are experiencing the very negative effects. So the MIDAS actually found that more than 50% of women don't experience any hot flashes. But we always associate hot flashes with menopause. So now we know that that's kind of a myth. And even though some people definitely do. Another misunderstanding here is that some people think that the negative emotion in women at this stage in life is coming from this sadness over their inability to reproduce anymore. But most negative emotion in women at this stage is not coming from that, but usually from other life circumstances that are common to middle age. Maybe divorce, maybe a job loss, maybe stressful caregiving. So, although menopausal women tend to report less satisfying sleep, there's really no neurobiological link that's been identified. So most studies reveal no link between menopause and depression in the general population. So as a society, we seem to kind of overestimate the negative side effects of menopause.